Hi, this is Dipen Shah, the Senior Vice President with PCG Research Team at Kotak Securities. Talking about markets over the last 10 to 15 days has continued to remain in a narrow band. This is much more the case over the last 2 or 3 weeks with no major events on the international or on the domestic front. On the global front, the expectations of monetary easing continue in Europe as well as US. But of late what we have seen is that the US data has turned positive, and that kind of reduces the chances of monetary easing to that extent. Also in Europe, the political leadership has admirably handled the crisis situation. Things are now becoming kind of stable, and to that extent expectations are mixed as far as further easing is concerned. On the domestic front, what we have seen is that the monsoons have been pretty decent over the last couple of weeks. In fact, the deficit, which was at around 30%, has now come down to about 15%, and that is a positive which we have seen over the past couple of weeks. But apart from that, on the other side, there has been no major market moving news. The IIP data which came in was lackluster, though the WPI inflation which came in below expectations has raised hopes for monetary action from the RBI. However, on the other hand, the crude price have continued to rise. They are nearly at $114 on the Brent, and that along with the high food inflation reduces the chances of any action from the RBI to that extent. On the more important aspect of reforms, we have not seen any major action coming from the government's side over the last 1 month. Expectations were running high post Mr. P.Chidambaram taking over as finance minister. While there are some announcements which have been made, markets are still awaiting any concrete action on reforms. So till the time these major reforms come in, we believe markets will continue to trade in a narrow band and will largely be looking at international events or triggers for further movement. And once when the reforms start, that's when we believe that markets will trend up on a sustainable basis. So our view remains the same. We continue to recommend investments or staggered investments in strong management companies which have got very strong balance sheets and available at reasonable valuations. And once when we start seeing some reforms go through, that's when we will take a more constructive approach towards the most domestically oriented sectors like capital goods, construction, banking, etc. Thank you very much.